Good day everyone, I'm Momshi Roxanne and welcome to my channel. This is part 3 of the topic Phonology and the Introduction to Linguistics. The speaker's knowledge of the language is said to be important and the phonological rules are part of it. Phonological rules are of two types. We have the allophonic rules and the morphemic rules. Allophonic rules are concerned about what could be there in the aspiration of word initial k in quotes and the rounding of the word initial r. Morphemic rules or morphonemic rules and morphophonological rules are concerned with the change when voicing of the z of the plural suffix is replaced by voicelessness, giving s in words like coats and socks. According to the traditional phonological theories, a phoneme is the minimal unit in the sound system of language. That's according to Crystal in 1997. Phonological rules are the rules, whether written or spoken, that control how sounds change during vocal communication. Phonological rules describe how phonemes are realized as their allophones in a given environment. Environment in phonology typically refers to neighboring phonemes. John Golden Smith in 1995 defines phonological rules as mappings between two different levels of sound representation, the abstract or underlying level and the surface level. Bruce Hayes in 2009 describes them as generalizations about the different ways a sound can be pronounced in different environments. That is to say, phonological rules describe how a speaker goes from the abstract representation stored in their brain to the actual sound they articulate when they speak. In general, phonological rules start with the underlying representation of a sound, the phoneme that is stored in the speaker's mind, and yield the final surface form or what the speaker actually pronounces. For example, the English plural s may be pronounced as s in cats, z in cabs, or is in buzzes. These forms are all sorted mentally as the same S, but the surface pronunciations, which are derived through a phonological rule, are different. Types of phonological rules. Let's study the following phonological processes. Assimilation. According to Hyman, assimilation refers to all adaptive modifications of a segment in a chain of segments by a neighboring segment. According to Driven, assimilation is a process whereby one sound causes an adjacent sound to be more similar to itself. Sounds become more like the neighboring sounds. So we have classified the types of assimilation according to distinctiveness and stability of change. So we have phonetic, free variation, and contextual. We have phonemic, neutralization, and syncretism. And we have morphologic, which is morphophonemic and historical. So let's start off with phonetic. So it is a free variation or contextual assimilation, just like what I have mentioned a while back. The change affects a certain segment by selecting a certain variant of that segment. For example, in triumph and nymph. Labiodental nasal instead of bilabial Triumph, nymph. Also, l is devoiced after f and k in flight and clean, and lips are rounded in the articulation of p, k, and l in pool, cool, loom, due to the occurrence of rounded vowel u immediately after these consonant segments. Phonemic assimilation is often referred to as neutralization or syncretism. This is more systematized, not subject to free variation. It also results in the neutralization of two phonemes. For example, n and ng are neutralized in think and f in have to, and z and s in newspaper. Morphological or morphophonemic assimilation. It is one which affects a whole morpheme. It usually decides the morpheme variant or the allomorph according to the morphophonemic rule. For example, the distribution of suffix s, plural, third person singular, possessive, contracted forms is and has, show three allomorphs, and these are s after voices, consonant stops, roots, Phillips, its. and z after voiced segments like goes, boys, tomes, his, and is after sibilant consonants which are riches, bridges, Jameses, Georges. Katamba points out that the alternation in the shape of a morpheme is not arbitrary. Rather, it is phonologically conditioned. This means that the allomorph of a morpheme that occurs in a given context is partly or wholly determined by the sounds found in the allomorphs of adjacent morphemes. It is not merely coincidence that is responsible for the allomorphs of the plural morpheme and the third person plural being z, s, or is. The suffix agrees in voicing with the preceding sound. The distribution of suffix ed, past and past participle shows three allomorphs, and these are d, voiced segments, killed, named, t, after voiceless consonants, looked, stopped, reached, id, after t, and d, wanted, added. The distribution of the prefix shows the following allomorphs: il before l, illegal, illegitimate; before irregular; im before labial, immoral, impersonal, immortal. The second process is dissimilation. Dissimilation is when a sound changes one of its features to become less similar to an adjacent sound, usually to make the two sounds more distinguishable. This type of rule is often seen among people speaking a language that is not their native language, where the sound contrasts may be difficult, so the rule is applied for ease of production and perception. In other words, dissimilation is a phonological process that changes feature values of segments to make them less similar. Examples: annual, annular; sexual, secular; cultural, cellular or cell; penal, perpendicular. The third process is deletion, when a sound such as a stressless syllable or a weak consonant is not pronounced. For example, most American English speakers do not pronounce d in handbag, n in condom, k in no. So it is a process by which a sound present in the phonemic form is removed from the phonetic form in certain environments for ease of production. Last in 1984 suggested the three types of deletion, first of which is apheresis, which is initial deletion as in I am, I'm, I have, I've, or the initial loss of k before n as in no, night. Syncope is formative internal deletion. The term is most frequently used with vowel loss, but some writers extend it to consonants as well. This can be seen in American and British forms of certain words like secretary versus secretary. Apocope is the loss of final element as t before a word beginning with another consonant, like last time. Also, low-stress words may lose their finals as in an and begging to beggin. The next process is insertion. Nathan in 2008 stated that not only can segments be deleted, sometimes they can be inserted instead. There are two basic reasons for insertion. First is preventing clusters of consonants that violate syllable structure constraints in the language, and easing transitions between segments that have multiple incompatibilities. Words that are inherited from Latin with such clusters change to have an initial e inserted. Especial for special, estudiante for student, escuela for school. We have two types of insertion. We have the prothesis and the epenthesis. Prothesis refers to the insertion of a segment at the beginning, like Snoopy plus e is Snoopy. Epenthesis refers to the insertion inside a word, like glass plus plural s, glasses. The next process is metathesis, in which phonological process changes the order of phonemes. For example, we have relevant to relevant, asterisk to asterisk, comfortable to comfortable, relator to realtor, and integral to integral. Last stated that in Old English there are interchanges of p and s, as shown in spelling variants ps and sp. Another metathesis involves nasal sequences, especially m and n, like enmity for enmity and anemone for amenone. And now let's have prosodic phonology. What is prosody? Prosody refers to the study of the tune and rhythm of speech and how these features contribute to meaning. It also consists of distinctive variations of stress, tone, and timing in spoken language. Prosodic phonology is a theory of the way in which the flow of speech is organized into a finite set of phonological units. It is also, however, a theory of interactions between phonology and the components of the grammar. We have four prosodic features. We have the syllable structure, word stress, and sentence and phrase stress, and intonation. The syllabic structure. First, what is a syllable? A syllable is commonly known to be a speech unit that is larger than a segment. We have two types of syllable. We have the open syllable and closed syllable. Open syllable usually ends in a vowel like go, we, she, he. Closed syllable usually ends in one or more consonants like eat, ball, mold, rest. Classifications according to number of syllables. We have monosyllabic, one syllable, disyllabic, two syllables, and polysyllabic, two or more syllables. Word stress. What is stress? Stress is the rhythm of a language. In pronunciation, stress can refer to words, part of a word, or even one word in a group of words that receives the most emphasis. The following table shows the difference of stress of nouns and verbs. So the nouns are stressed on the first syllable and the verbs are stressed on the second syllable. Conduct, conduct, conflict, conflict, convict, convict, defect, defect, digest, digest, export, export, extract, extract, insult, insult, object, object, permit, permit, present, present, project, project, protest, protest, record, record, subject, subject, suspect, suspect. Now, what is intonation? In phonetics, intonation is the melodic pattern of an utterance. Intonation helps to recognize the language that you hear in the same way as the melody of a song helps you recognize the song that you are listening. It also conveys differences of expressive meanings like surprise, anger, and happiness. There are two types of intonation. We have rising intonation and falling intonation. Rising intonation can express a number of various emotions such as non-finality, surprise, doubt, interest, politeness, or lack of confidence. Your name is John? Falling intonation is used for asking and giving information in normal, quiet, unemphatic style. Your name is John. Other main types of intonation include high fall rise, high rise, mid-level rise, and low rise. On the components of intonation, we have pitch, which is the degree of height of our voice in speech. And we also have sentence stress, which makes the utterance understandable to the listener by making the important words in the sentence stressed, clear, and higher in pitch, and by the shortening and obscuring the unstressed words. We also have rhythm, the sense of movement in speech marked by stress, timing, quantity of syllables. What are the functions of intonation? We have attitudinal functions, which allows us to express emotions such as confidence, interest, doubt, joy, pain, irony. Accentual functions, which implies that the placement of stress is determined by intonation. Grammatical functions, wherein the listener is better able to recognize the grammar and syntax structure of what is being said by using information contained in the intonation, such as the placement of boundaries between phrases, clauses, and sentences, and the difference between questions and statements. Discourse intonation can indicate when the speaker is indicating some sort of contrast or link with material in another tone unit. In conversation, it can convey to the listener what kind of response is being expected from him. We have 7 cases where intonation matters. First one is when asking questions. Second one is when making statements. Third is when listing things. Fourth is when expressing feelings. Fifth is when stressing the importance of something. Sixth is when contrasting between things. And seventh is when using tag questions. That concludes the series of lectures for the topic phonetics. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!